afternoon, everyone. This is Taking Flight Through COVID-19, the Power of Handshake. I'm Liz Seager. I'm Associate Director in Career Services, and my co-host is our Executive Director, Jason Eckert. He's going to help with the chat and the Q&A as we get toward the end of our presentation. So today we're going to talk about a number of ways that you can maximize the usage of Handshake in order to help you reach a lot of your career goals. And we have kind of a packed agenda, but some of these won't take quite as long as others. So we're just going to talk briefly about some of the things that you can do to really utilize your profile. We're going to show you how to create a job alert. And one of the big things students are really interested in is engaging with employers a lot more than they are. Just very briefly, we'll talk about researching company culture and also tips on how companies interview and what their processes look like. We're also going to talk about a really great feature that allows you to network with your peers. These would be students across the US who are also using the Handshake platform. And then lastly, we'll do resources for career-related questions. There's quite a few resources available in Handshake for you to access. And I'm going to try to get this done in about 20-25 minutes or so, and then we'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes for a Q&A session. And before we do that, we just have to do a little housekeeping on our webinar guidelines. And I'd just like to remind you, if you have your video up, just keep in mind that we can see you. So just be courteous, be professional. In that vein. And during the presentation, please mute any kind of outside noise. Now, I say this to you as there's a dog barking outside my window. Hopefully you can't hear him. He's a howler. But just make sure you mute, put your button on mute, and then you can unmute yourself when you have a question to ask in chat. And we can either have a live chat at the end, or you can also use that particular chat function that we have. And then lastly, do practice grace. I was telling my colleagues today, I'm going to admit to you that I'm a little nervous. This is the second webinar that I've done using Zoom and melding my technology skills. So there might be some awkward moments where I have to stop and navigate through Handshake and make sure I'm in the right place. There might be some awkward silences. And I do have some notes off to my left, and I am going to consult those from time to time because I just need to make sure that I'm sharing all the information that you need in order to really utilize Handshake effectively. And lastly, if someone's speaking, just be careful that you're not talking over each other, and you may have to wait a minute in order to come into the conversation. And you will receive a copy of this webinar, and it will also be posted on the Career Services website and the University of Dayton's YouTube channel. So speaking of practicing grace, I'm going to move into showing you Handshake. And I do have a monitor, so I am looking up. Okay, so here we are on Handshake, and the first thing that we want to talk about is you really need to complete your profile and maximize your profile, because this is going to allow Handshake to really do some fantastic things for you. So in order to do that, I'm going to go over to this is your profile icon. I've got my picture uploaded into this, and you're going to click on My Profile. And the first thing I want to show you, now almost a little shame on me, but it says my profile is 50% complete. Now I'm not really sure why it's saying it's 50% complete, because I have uploaded a photo, as you can see here, and I've got my heading in and what I'm interested in. I've added my education information and my work and volunteer experience. I added some organizations and coursework. And then here, I put in quite a few skills. I think what is giving me a lower score is I have not uploaded any documents yet. And I've done that because I used my student profile in Handshake to teach all of you how to use Handshake. and I'm not currently using it as a job search tool, so I opted not to upload the resume. However, you can upload resumes and cover letters, as many as you need to support your job search, and I do strongly encourage you to upload your resume and all the documents you need and keep them stored within the Handshake tool. All right, so that's good practices in terms of building out your profile. The second thing that I want to show you related to your profile is we're going to go back into the profile icon, and I want to talk about career interests. And this is another section that's really important for you to fill out. And really, my advice to you is fill out every single section under career interests. However, our employers have reported to us that if you just want to fill out 3 areas, fill out the type of job that you're looking for here. I've got it selected to full-time right now. And what roles are you interested in is the second one. So if you click on this, and I'm just going to add the word computer, put in a keyword for a job title, and it will actually pull up quite a few job titles that are related to working in the information technology field. And you can add as many as you like into this particular field. And then the third is where do you want to live? Where do you want to do your work? So at the moment, I've got both Dayton and Cincinnati selected because this is my area. But again, you can add as many locations into this field as you need to. Now remember, those are the top 3, but I also recommend that you fill out what industries interest you, do a little bit of research. And I would say right now, what I checked off in this field, if you'll notice, so folks are in the middle of a pandemic, we're starting to recover a little bit, but I clicked a number of career fields that we know are doing quite a bit of hiring right now in this particular situation. You can go back and change this anytime you need, especially as we start to see some recovery happening. And then also, what kinds of job or job functions interest you? And go ahead and sort through that. And at the bottom, just verify that your graduation date is correct. And when you're done, you're going to come over here and you're going to save your career interests and get that updated. So the reason why we recommend that you, and I'm going to look at my notes here while I do this, that you work on these 3 sections is that recruiters report to us that they search for students when they're trying to attract you to their positions and do some recruiting, and they look at job type, location, and job role the most. So that's why we really encourage you to fill out those fields. The other reasons are you're going to get better and more relevant job recommendations from Handshake on your homepage. So both your profile and your career interests are going to drive what comes up on your homepage, so you can see. So here's jobs based on job roles you're interested in, and it's starting to populate, and you can even see more jobs and even on-campus jobs, and then just based on your activity. So it really does pay attention to what you're doing within the system and pulls some positions to you. The other reason is that about 80% of students who complete that career interest section and have a very well-developed career profile, about 80% of our students will receive some kind of a message from a recruiter within the Handshake system. So you will get some engagement from recruiters when you make sure that these 2 areas are pretty well developed. I'm going to move on to create a job alert. And in order for you to create a job alert, now a lot of you have done this through job searching, and you just may not know how to do it through Handshake. So I'm going to have you click on jobs. Okay. And you have to give it a little bit of search criteria. So I'm going to tell it that I would like a full-time job in Cincinnati. And I'm going to put the keywords in human resources. Okay. And as you can see, it's pulled up 8 jobs for me over here on the left side of my screen. Okay. And I want to save this search. Okay. Oh, now it's telling me that this search has already been saved because I was playing with this the other day. So let me try something else and we'll save a new search. Let's do recruiter. Okay, now I have 17 jobs. Okay, here it is, don't miss out. You're gonna save this search. And when you save that search, you get this little green notification that you've created a job alert that was down in the right-hand corner. Now you may want to edit this. So if you want to do a little editing, click on that edit your notifications. Two things that I want to highlight for you. If you don't name the job alert, it will just take whatever criteria you put into the filters or your keywords and name it for you. I'm okay with Recruiter full-time job search. Also, it's going to tell you, how do you want to be notified as job alerts come up in the system? Do you want to receive emails? Do you want to receive in-app? So in-app means that you'll be notified via Handshake through the notification function, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. You can also download the Handshake app, and you can ask that notification to be pushed to your phone. Decide how often you want to receive these alerts. If you're really in the midst of a heavy job search, you may want to get these notifications daily. I do have mine set at weekly, and we're just going to save that. Okay, let me make sure that I told you everything that I need to tell you about creating a job alert. Yeah, I think that we're good. So we're going to go home again. All right, the next thing that we're going to talk about is your engagement with employers. I mentioned this before when I went through the agenda. As job searchers, probably the #1 request that we get from our students is they really would like more engagement with employers as they're going through the job search process or an internship process. And there are multiple ways that through Handshake you can have that engagement that you're looking for. So first things first, if you want to have engagement with employers, you have to have your privacy settings set so that employers can actually find you. And in order to do that, you're going to go back to your profile icon here, and you're going to click on My Profile, and you're going to scroll down, and you're going to notice here it says your profile is visible to employers, students, and alumni across all Handshake universities. So this means that you're able to be seen by employers, but also communicate with students and alumni from schools who are also using the Handshake tool. We're going to talk about this on and off for the next few minutes. Now, if you don't have this coming up, you can change your settings. So you can change this anytime. You're going to click on Settings, and you're going to scroll down a little bit to Privacy here. So we have community. Community is what's recommended because it does exactly what I just mentioned, is it gives those 3 audiences and you the ability to communicate with, they can see you and you can see them. If this is a little bit too much for you and you prefer to just communicate with employers, you can change that to employer. Or if you prefer to just stay private right now and not have that level of engagement, that's perfectly fine too. I'm going to stick with community right now because we're also going to talk about how you can communicate with your fellow students here in a few minutes. When you've made that change here, make sure that you scroll down and you save those updates. Okay. I have lots of items for engagement, so let me make sure that I told you everything that you need to know. Okay, we talked about your visibility with employers. This is going to allow them to message you about particular job postings and events that they're hosting. So that alone, just knowing what an employer's activity both on campus and what their hiring activity involves is going to increase your networking and your engagement quite a bit. I mentioned that we will talk about networking with your fellow students, and the community setting allows you to do that. And then the other reason is that while Handshake, yes, it's, we're here in Southwest Ohio, we're in Dayton, but if you are visible to students, alumni, and employers across all schools that use Handshake, there are probably 800 to 900 universities across the US that use the Handshake tool. And this definitely expands your reach for employers that are outside of the Ohio and Southwest Ohio area. So that, I think, is going to increase your exposure just a bit. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, we're still under engaging with employers, this is kind of a long one, is Another way is to start following employers. Some of you are used to doing this on LinkedIn. So I'm going to show you two things. You can get to employers here very quickly. You can also get to them under the jobs tab. So if you do jobs, employers, okay, and now you're in the employer tab. So I'm only going to do that once. The rest of the time I'll use the employer tab. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to start following employers. And these are some of the employers that I'm already following, but I want to give you the opportunity to search for some employers. So let's search, let's do, well, let me see, location. We're going to do Dayton. Okay, and we're going to pick, I'm going to come down here to industry here, and I'm going to look for nonprofit. Okay, and it looks like we've got quite a few nonprofits here in the Dayton region, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to follow Catholic Charities here. So we're just going to follow. Okay, so now we're following. If we go back to the home, I think I'm going to do home page. Okay, this is where we practice grace, where I have to find my way. And I'm going to go to employers. And now you can see who I'm following. You can click on see more employers, and you would be able to see all the employers that you're currently following. So a number of reasons why I think it's a good idea to follow a certain number of employers is that you will receive notifications from these employers. So as they have activities such as posting jobs or posting events, you'll get notifications that they are actually engaging in these opportunities. Also, it's just a really quick way if these employers are on your radar in terms of finding positions. It's a very quick way for you to do some research on these companies and help you prepare for applications and for interviews. Now, I've spent a lot of time talking about notifications, and if you do not know what those are, you're probably wondering, well, how do I control the notifications that I'm receiving in Handshake? Excuse me. So this is your next strategy that's going to help you get more information. So again, I'm going to take you back to your profile, and you're going to come down here to notifications. Okay. And right here, you want to edit this notification preference. Now this is a pretty long list of notifications. So a couple of things, we've talked about this a little bit. You can receive notifications through email. If there's a grayed out check mark in the field, you can receive notifications through the notification function that we just looked at. We'll look at that a little bit more. And sometimes you can also have notifications pushed to your mobile device. So general is just if there's general updates going on coming out of Handshake and you want an email notification, you can check that off. And any kind of marketing messages and promotions and specials from Handshake as well. I've got that mark that I want that to just come into my notifications. As we scroll through this list, I just want to highlight a couple of these areas that I think are important that you may want to turn on in terms of those notifications. So we've got your events. So definitely events, because if you've joined an event, if you get a notification that's been updated, that's perfect. You know if the time or the location has been changed. But what if you get invited to an event? So employers you're following, employers who are searching for you and they like their qualifications and they invite you to a particular event, this is a great way, again, to increase that particular engagement. And same thing with that employer who's hosting that information session. Next is interviews and schedules. If you are part of an on-campus interview schedule, you're very deep into our employers that are coming to campus to interview you, you really want to manage this section very carefully. I'm not going to go through each one, but if anything changes in relation to you signing up for interviews and knowing what's happening, you want this information to come to you. As a matter of fact, I'd have you definitely have it go right to your email as opposed to having to log in and look at Handshake every time, because if you're interviewing, man, you want to know if something has changed. And then jobs. Again, this is another one that I strongly suggest. If an employer changes a job, you're going to know the deadline's coming up. If an employer posts a new job, so that's part of your alerts and that type of thing. So definitely check that off, because you want to know if that employer you're following has posted something that you're going to hear about it way sooner as opposed to later. And then next we have messages. So if you've been added to a conversation and someone makes a note of that, you'd receive an email. But also if you are sent a new message, so employers do use messaging through the Handshake tool. Students message us, career advisors in our office, if they have a change to their appointments. So this is a great way. If I respond to you, you're going to know it's hit either your phone or your email, that I've responded, in case you need to change your time or something. It's really good to know, oh, I saw you, I heard you in that particular process. And then of course, career fair. Oop, where'd career fair go? Oh, here's career fair. I looked it over. Okay, again, employers you're interested in, employers you're following, did they sign up for the career fair? This will tell you if they did that. So this really, really keeps you tapped into what's going on in the multiple areas of the Handshake tool. So I advise you to spend some time in the notifications section selecting how you want to receive information and what types of information you would like to receive. Okay, now I'm going to go back to notifications for a second. If you choose not to have your notifications sent to your email and you just really want to keep them collected in Handshake, and you know that you have to log into Handshake to look at those, you do that by going again to that pull down to notifications, and it's going to bring you back to this screen. Remember, we did editing here, but here are all of your notifications that are going on right now. So I'm going to click on events. And these are a little old, but I was invited to the digital mixer. And sometime during 2018, I was invited to a tabling event. So remember, I work for Career Services, so I'm not going to get invited to a ton of events, but you most definitely will. And then there's a number of appointment messages that I've been receiving. So just depending on what categories you selected, you'll get that notification that you have got those notifications that are coming up that something has changed within the system. Okay, I'm going to go back to our home page. So we're still very much talking about that engagement with employers, and the next topic I want to talk about is the messaging feature. So under the messaging tab, you're going to be able to see those employers who have directly messaged you. So as opposed to their activity in notifications, these are recruiters that have actually been reaching out and sending you messages. So if you click on your message tab, you're going to see on the right that I've got a number of messages that have come up. So one of the recent ones is this recruiting message from the US Capitol Police, and they're letting me know that they've got a job position in the system. They gave me a description, they even gave me some salary information, and they gave me a link so that I could directly apply to their website for this information. And you can go ahead and you can even view the job description a little bit more. If you would like to message this employer back, you just type in here and you can say hello. Now I'm not going to send this because they'll think I'm kind of crazy. But once you've, be professional. It could be inquiring about various information, about needing more information about job description, whatever kind of questions you have, and then you would send that off to the recruiter who reached out to you. Also, you'll get sometimes event information. So I'm going to click on Lizzie here from Google, and she sent me a message about a coding event that was happening on April 18th. So those, I'm losing my words, coding competition that comes up that a lot of people in the IT industry do. And she's giving me information about how to register and ask any questions here, but you can also type a message. Okay, let me make sure I've told you everything that I need Okay, a couple of things to keep in mind in terms of messaging. Students, again, you have to have that privacy setting of community or employers to receive this type of messaging from our employers. The second thing I want you to know is not anyone can message you that's in the Handshake system. So Handshake uses something called a trust score. Now, you can't see the trust score on the employer profile, but we in Career Services who manage the platform, we can. And any employer who has a trust score of 80% or higher means that they've met some criteria where they're doing good and positive things in terms of their recruiting practices within the system, and it's okay that they reach out and they message you. So this means they've got positive activity and they're cleared to reach out to you. So we do have fraudulent activity occur in Handshake from time to time. Our number one rule with that is if you're getting messaged or you get some emails to your email account, my number one rule, if you read something and it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So, or if you look at the email address and it looks not quite normal, that's a chance that an employer might be sending you some fraudulent information. If you encounter this, you want to let us in Career Services know as soon as possible so that we can investigate and stop this particular activity. But 9 times out of 10, what you do receive is these are vetted and positive employer relationships that are going on within our system. All right, the next thing that I want to talk about is, and this is probably the number one thing that our students are looking for, is you really want contact information. Students want to be able to engage with employers and recruiters and start those conversations and those processes. So I'm going to show you a number of ways that you can find employer contact information. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to employers. Okay, and we're just going to have you, I'm going to look for my employers who I'm following. Okay, I'm going to click on this Randstad because I've been kind of looking at their profile a little bit. And their profile is a little brief, but that's okay. But if you look over here on the right of your screen, you can see that we have a website, a phone number, and an email address for Kim Davis. And here's Kim down here. So she's on the public staff list. That means that Kim has decided that she would like her profile and her contact information to be visible to students. This is the easiest way for you to find contact information because she has made it possible. So really all you have to do is cut and paste Kim's email address into your email and start communicating with her, and she's open for that level of communication. Okay, but there are a lot of employers who don't publish their contact information, so we have to find some other ways for you to see if you can just find individuals who work within the organization that you might be able to network with a little bit. So let me see. Okay, if you cannot find contacts, you know what I'm going to say next. You're going to take yourself over to LinkedIn to be able to find that information. So we're going to go into LinkedIn for just a second. And what I'm going to do is say we're really interested in this organization and I want it in people. So what it's done is, Randstad's a pretty big company. It's a national organization, even though they have a location in Cincinnati. This is where you're going to be able to find people to connect with. It may not necessarily be a recruiter. You can look for a recruiter if you want to, but there may be some individuals. So for instance, here's a senior recruiter, but these just might be individuals you really like the company, the philosophy, what they stand for. And it will be a good idea that you start connecting with other professionals within the organization. While not exactly getting your hands on the direct contact you're looking for, it's still a way to continue to build your professional network, especially in a space where you're moving your career. Okay. Okay, that concludes our engaging ways to engage with the employer. So I'm going to go back to Handshake. And the next thing that we're going to look at is, say you want to learn a little bit more about the organization and you'd like to know more about company culture. So we're going to click on Employers. And again, I'm going to go back to my buddies at Randstad. So you're just going to use this to research your employers. Go back to their profile. And you can see that they have a description here. It's kind of on the short side, but that's okay. Some are long, some are short. It depends on how much information that they've added. That's one way for you to start researching company culture, is to just do the basic research. The second way is start looking at students who have worked with the organization. You can see that 164 students have worked here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Molly. Okay. And you can take a look at Molly's profile, kind of see what she's been doing, what she did for the organization, and see if you have the same type of skills that Molly has that might be a good fit for Randstad. Okay. The other thing is you can message Molly. Now, when you message students within the system, if you've never done it before, the first window that's going to pop up is a set of guidelines that you have to check off and say that you accept. Those guidelines essentially are asking you and making you pledge that you will behave like a professional when you are messaging your fellow students within the system. Once you click that off, the box doesn't come up again because you only have to do it once. The next window that you get is, what would you like to ask Molly about? So you can, if it's another career-related topic, so maybe it is culture, you get a pre-populated message. I would recommend that you delete this and write your own message. It's perfectly okay to do that. And you can ask questions about company culture and then send it on its way. Okay? Okay. That's the creative way of researching company culture. But here's the really, really easy way. You're probably wondering why I didn't go there first. But this company has a couple of reviews. So you're going to click on Reviews. And you can see that when Handshake uses reviews, it just asks some three very basic questions. What did the individual like? What do they wish was different? And what advice do they have for individuals who are seeking employment within the organization? So really clicking on those reviews will definitely help you start to glean and gain additional information about company culture, in addition to talking to your fellow students. I got a little ahead of myself with the student messaging, but that's okay. When I get there, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's an excellent way of reviewing company culture. Okay, next thing is, how about we want to learn more about what it's like to interview at Randstad. So as you can see, Randstad has got someone gave feedback about interviewing. So again, this is peer-to-peer learning. This is information that your fellow students have populated to help you understand, how can I prepare for an interview? So it looks like this marketing intern, and again, Handshake keeps it really short, asked what was the process like, and they said relax, like a conversation with the hiring manager, very nice. And then what's one question that you were asked? Now Randstad only has one interview review. Let's go back and see if we can find a few more, but you can look at multiple interview comments to see if you can collect a number of questions. Where are my buddies at Mattel that came up? Let's try this one. Okay, this one only has 2 interviews, but that's okay. Same thing. Ooh, group interview. That's good to know. If you had to prepare for a group interview, that would be important. Process, question, why do you want to work here? Okay, so you can curate some interview information and get some insider tips, both by communicating with your fellow students, but also clicking on the interview button to gain, especially to figure out what types of questions they're asking. Okay, let's talk about messaging just a little bit. So this is the section where you have an opportunity to network with alumni and with your fellow students within the system. Again, this is a great way for you to collect additional career information. So again, if you want this opportunity, you have to have your setting on that privacy setting on community in order for this to happen. So Handshake provides you this opportunity. They call it peer-to-peer learning. And what they discovered is that you all really want to hear from each other in terms of reviewing companies and what's the interview structure like, and any advice that they can offer you. So they've created this feature so that you can communicate with each other within the system. So I'm going to go to students. This is your student tab, so you can find fellow students. And it does, I've noticed, take a minute to load. So I'm going to just start with UD because I think I want to talk to alumni. And I'm actually going to drive my search by major. So I'm looking for some fellow psychology majors. Okay. And I think I want to talk to Karina. So remember, she's got this message bubble here. So that means she's most definitely available for you to chat with her. I do want to check out her profile first, just for a minute. And take a look. She's got her master's at university. She's in school right now. That's pretty cool. Okay. And here's her message. It's not a bubble. It's actually a blue bar, but you can click on that. Remember, what do you want to ask her about? Well, I want to talk about her professional experience. And then again, I got a little ahead of myself. Here's your window. You can use the canned message or you can create your own, and then you'll send it on its way. What happens when you send a message is that Karina, when she receives your message, she has to either accept or decline it. If she accepts the message, then you're good to go and you'll start communicating with each other. This happens on your end as well. So when you receive a message from a fellow student, you have the ability to accept or decline that message. And of course, if you accept it, then you're responding. If you do decline the message, what will happen is Handshake will ask you, why are you declining this message? Why do you not want to respond to it? And you'll have some criteria to flag. Maybe the person was inappropriate. Maybe there was just something that went on that you didn't like. You don't want to talk to that person. So it's okay to decline and then answer the question as to why you're declining that particular communication. Okay, let me make sure I've told you everything that I need to tell you about responding to messages. Okay, you will get an email notification in Handshake when you do respond to messages. I'm going to go back to, I think I'm going to go back to employers for a second to show you how this works. And I'm just going to click on Catholic Social Services. Oh, I take that back. I have to go into messages here. Okay, this might be where Liz is getting truly lost. Okay, let's look at John. Okay, let me move my little window here. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we're back in messages. Student messages are also going to show up in this window as well. If you are having some trouble, you want to archive the message or you want to report that the message is not a positive interaction, this is where you would find this function, is with these three little dots. So report, it might, now you can do this with students too, so that this is employer language, either getting spammed or it's fraudulent, or if it's student information, you'll get that message that'll say, the student is behaving inappropriately, I don't want to be contacted, and you would submit that information. Okay. Okay. Last thing I have for you is how to access resources in Handshake. So this, you're going to go to your Career Center. Well, I'm sorry. Now I'm cracking myself up. No, I do need to go to the Career Center. Here's the Career Center. Okay. Resources are under Career Center. So you're going to just click on this button. Forgive me for that. This is a collection of what we call articles. There are tremendous amounts of resources here, especially thank you to one of our colleagues, Lisa Witt, who has done a tremendous amount of work in this area. It applies to job search strategies, how to use Handshake, affinity group information. Here's our COVID-19 updates that Kelsey did for us. Interviewing, companies with leadership development programs. There's an affinity group article that you can click on. It will also give you access to some of the career services resources that we have licensing for, so you have to be a UD student to get into them. Going Global is one of those. Now you can search for resources, so I'm going to search. I know there's a research in here for NASA. And when this resource comes up, it's actually going to take you to the employer, and that is actually not what I wanted to do. So bear with me, folks. Let's try that again. All right, here we go. This is the resource. As you can see, here's our author, Mrs. Lisa Witt, and she's given you a description, and she has provided you with a number of resources and links to the Pathways program, the internship program, information for international students, and then tremendous amount of attachments. How they want resumes done, internship opportunities, pathways, everything that you need. So all of these resources have quite a bit of information that you'll be able, it's a deep dive in terms of you getting this information, but there's just so many things available to you in this resources tab. So I strongly encourage that you go and shop around and find what suits your needs currently. Okay, that is everything that I have for you. Jason, do we have any questions? I'm going to leave Handshake up in case someone wants to see something, but do we have a few minutes for questions? I know I went way over.
This is great information, Liz. We had one question come in that I'm going to modify a little bit for a broader audience. How can a student give a preference as to whether or not their information is visible to employers? And what can employers actually see when they're engaging with Handshake?
Okay, so you can, I'm going to go to your profile. And actually, so remember, these are your settings. So I think this is a two-part question, which is the privacy settings. So remember, you can be private and employers won't see anything. If you choose that employers and community can see, they're going to see your entire profile. I do know that in your profile, I believe that, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, my colleagues, but I believe that you can't hide your GPA. Is that possible? That's the one thing that can be hidden.
That is correct. It can be. I would have to dig into my account to see where it is. I do love the feature that Liz just clicked on, which is See Employer View.
That's where I was going, yeah. So when you decide, this is what the employer sees on your side. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a lot of restrictions on this profile, so they can pretty much see everything that they want to see. My skills. And I do not have my GPA loaded into this information because I went to school a very long time ago. So, okay. Does that answer the question?
I believe so. We were doing a little research offline about industries, and it actually does appear as though the industries you selected, Liz, did show up on the employer view.
Yes, it did. Do you want me to go back?
Just briefly.
Here they are,
Okay.
right here. Yes, so they will see the roles and the industries that you selected and your skills.
So that was the one question we had submitted through chat during the session. I invite anyone to either type in more questions in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question to Liz at this time.
And I apologize, Anne, I gave you incorrect information, but I'm glad we fixed that. And then Isabel added into the chat how you can hide your GPA, which I was just going to bring up. So that's there in the chat if you need it.
Thank you, Isabel.
Of course, always here.
Oh, there you are. Hi. So we know each other.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Liz.
It's so good to see you.
I have one question. Is there, I think that something I'm struggling with is just using the necessary terms to look for a job, because I guess that's a very generic question, because all the companies can use different terms for a specific role that someone would do. But is there any way that I can look for a job based on the description? Is that just putting a random word on the search engine, or is there any other way?
Well, Isabel, have you decided what type of work, what type of occupations that you want to work in?
Yes. So let's say I am looking, well, not let's say, I am looking for a human resources full-time job.
Okay. So kind of back up for a minute and just pull as many job descriptions for HR. It doesn't matter what level, whether it's entry level or a little bit more experienced, and do a pretty thorough search of those job descriptions and start noting the skills that they're looking for in addition to the job titles, and record those so that you can kind of start to see what's all the different lingo within the human resources field, especially among those job titles, because human resources coordinator, that's almost very bland, and it can pull maybe not exactly what you're looking for. So get a little bit more detailed with both skills that folks are looking for in HR, job descriptions, especially some technical stuff, the databases they use, the word recruiting, onboarding, training and development, corporate recruiting, and see if you can get a really nice comprehensive list of what's associated with that career field, and then start testing those out in those search engines to see if you can pull those positions to you.
Is there any way to filter in for an entry-level job on Handshake?
Do we have, let me do a share. I cannot remember if they have.
So just to add a little bit, the job function, if employers put a job function into the posting, those are standardized. So if you select the human resources job function, that would pull up all of the postings that fit into that area. However, there's another job function that's education, teaching, and training. So if you're looking for the training piece of HR, you may have to pull multiple job functions into that.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Okay. Isabella, it doesn't look like we can do entry level. We can only do full time.
That's okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay.
Liz, a couple more questions have come in. One may be from one of our new students, and the question is, how does a student get on Handshake, and does it take a certain number of days after enrolling where you can gain Handshake access?
Yes, so when students become enrolled here at University of Dayton, the trick is once you've got your UD email address. And once you have that UD email address, we here at UD download our incoming students, and then that means that you are in Handshake and you have a Handshake account. So again, this is an area sometimes that Susan does this for us and I struggle a little bit, but if you go to, I'm going to share my screen again. If you go to the Career Services webpage, and here's Handshake. And you're going to do your student login. Well, okay, it logged me in because I'm already logged in, so I'm so sorry about that. But what it'll do is it'll pull you into UD systems. We have that two factor auth. I can never say the word auth. Somebody say it for me. Okay, I can't say it. So, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But you've set up your UD email and a password for yourself, and it gets you through the UD firewalls. This is what's going to get you into Handshake so that you can start looking for on-campus jobs and that type of thing. Colleagues, did I say that appropriately?
Yes, I do think so. And if we have any new students who aren't sure if they're in Handshake, your login, as Liz pointed out, is the same as your login for Porches and any other UD systems. And if you're wondering if maybe we haven't imported you yet, you're always welcome to contact our office, and email is one great way to do that. And we can quickly check, and if you're not already in Handshake, get you in Handshake in a matter of minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to add, thanks a lot for the presentation. But see, I am in the other country right now. So do I get an opportunity still on a Handshake, or should I am like, I can't get an opportunity in a Handshake till now? Because see, I have enrolled just now. I'll be taking some classes online till till things get sorted and I come there. But till that, do I stand a chance, or like I should forget it till I come there?
So are you asking us, do you have an opportunity to find an on-campus position while
No,
you're...
it's not about on campus, but at least I can register on Handshake without being in US. And second thing is that, okay, then depends upon the employer at the end. But on campus is different, but at least part-time, or should, I mean, I am eligible or not eligible? In short, I just want to ask this. Because as I am right now outside US, so you never know how things are there, or how the employer will take it. Does it sound good on my end at the end of the day in front of the employer?
Well, if I go ahead, Liz.
No, go ahead, Jason.
If I understand your question, as long as you're a University of Dayton student, even if you're taking classes from another country, you have access to Handshake, just like you would any other University of Dayton system. You asked a question related to prospects, if you will, or chances of getting a job. I would really encourage you to schedule a time to talk to one of our career advisors, and we can help walk you through that process. And in fact, that was another question, Liz, that someone sent to me in a private message. Could you show us briefly how a student would use Handshake to request an appointment with one of our career advisors?
Sure. Except I got logged out. Oh, now it says I'm okay. All right, bear with me. There it is. Okay. Okay, so from your page, you're going to go to Career Center, to Appointments. You're going to schedule a new appointment, and you're going to pick your year. You're going to pick what you want to talk about, so you could say career planning. And it looks like if it's a darker blue, it means that there are appointments available on this particular day. And it looks like Ms. Shirley Favors is available at 1:30 tomorrow, so you click on that. You can choose here your medium. Right now, we're only offering phone or video appointments because we're all working from home. So you would pick that, and then hit, this is a required field, and you would just type in what you're looking for, help with my career planning. And then you just hit the request button. Now, Shirley, I'm going to do this, but we'll clean it up later. So, and you've been approved, and you've got your appointment scheduled. Okay. If you chose the phone appointment, in that comment area, you might want to add your phone number so that we can contact you. But if you've picked the video appointment, we will send you a Zoom link so that we can have a video appointment. And that is how you schedule an appointment. If you needed to communicate with Ms. Favors, you could add a comment here, and she, through her notifications in her email, would see that she's gotten a message from a student through Handshake that she needs to look at to help her manage her appointments. Okay?
Great. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
Are there any final questions, either through the chat or, like I said earlier, feel free to unmute your microphone at this time.
Hi, I have a final follow-up question. Now that it's summer, do you guys still work Monday to Friday, 9 to 4, or is Career Services having shortened hours?
We work 8:30 to 4:30 and Monday through Friday, and we are working virtually.
Okay, that's sweet. Thanks.
Okay.